There is something remarkable about the spoon, not because it is complex, but because it is so utterly simple. A small curved dish at the end of a handle, nothing more. And yet, this quiet tool has been with us for thousands of years, carrying soup to lips, stirring honey into tea, measuring flour in moonlit kitchens. Tonight, we will trace the long, gentle story of the spoon. And if you find this journey soothing enough to drift away, well, that would be just fine. But before we begin, if you enjoy these quiet explorations into the everyday, a gentle like or subscription helps us continue making them. Now, let us settle in. The spoon is older than we might imagine. Long before metal was ever shaped by human hands, before pottery was fired in kilns, there were spoons. The earliest ones were not made exactly. They were found. A cupped leaf, a shell from the shore, a hollowed piece of bark. Anything that could hold a bit of water or a scoop of grain. Our ancestors used what the world offered them. But even these simple tools were the beginning of something. They represented a thought, a realization that eating could be easier, cleaner, more civilized, that we did not need to drink from cupped palms alone, that hot stew could be lifted without burning fingers. The spoon, even in its most primitive form, was a bridge between survival and comfort. The oldest known spoons that were deliberately crafted date back more than 10,000 years. They were carved from bone or wood, shaped with stone tools, smoothed by patient hands. Archaeologists have found them in ancient settlements, nestled among other remnants of daily life. These spoons were personal objects, touched every day, worn smooth by use. In ancient Egypt, spoons became more than mere tools. They were art. Craftsmen carved them from ivory, from wood, from stone. Some were shaped like lotus flowers. Others featured handles that ended in the form of swimming girls or carved ducks. These were not spoons for everyday porridge. They were treasures meant for cosmetics, for precious oils, for ritual ointments. The Egyptians understood that even the smallest objects could carry beauty. A spoon might rest in a tomb, placed alongside a pharaoh for the journey beyond. In that darkness, it waited. A reminder that even in death, there were rituals to observe, comforts to maintain. The afterlife, they believed, required its own tools. Across the ancient world, spoons took many forms. In Greece and Rome, they were often made of bronze or silver. The Romans had a particular fondness for a type called a cochlear, which had a pointed handle. This point was useful for extracting shellfish from their shells or picking at eggs. The bowl of the spoon was small, delicate, refined. Romans dined while reclining, and their table manners were elaborate. The spoon was one tool among many, but it was ever present. Honey was served with small spoons. Sauces were sampled. Soups were sipped. The spoon moved through Roman feasts like a quiet servant, never demanding attention, always useful. In medieval Europe, most people did not own spoons. They ate with their hands or with knives. Bread served as both plate and utensil, soaking up stews and sauces. But the wealthy, the nobility, they had spoons. Often, these were carved from wood, sometimes from horn. Metal spoons were rarer, more precious. A spoon might be passed down through generations. It could be a wedding gift, A christening present. In some households, there was a shared spoon, used by all at the table. It would be dipped into the common pot, brought to each mouth in turn. Sharing a spoon meant sharing a life, a family, a fate. As we continue through the centuries, we find the spoon becoming more common, more personal. By the 15th and 16th centuries, more households owned spoons. They were still valuable, but no longer rare. Pewter spoons became popular, affordable for merchants and tradespeople. The spoon was moving from luxury to necessity. In England, a tradition emerged. When a child was baptized, godparents might gift a set of silver spoons, 13 spoons, representing Christ and the 12 apostles. These apostle spoons became treasured heirlooms. Each handle was topped with a tiny figure of a saint. They were beautiful, devotional, deeply personal. The phrase, "born with a silver spoon in your mouth," comes from this era. It meant you were born into wealth, into privilege. Your christening gift was not wood or pewter, but silver. The spoon became a symbol not just of eating, but of status, of fortune, of the circumstances into which a person arrived in this world. But for most people, spoons remained simple. A farmer might carve his own from a scrap of wood during a long winter evening. A blacksmith might hammer one from iron. These spoons were tools of daily survival, not symbols. They stirred morning porridge, measured out seeds for planting, fed children their supper. Across the ocean in the Americas, indigenous peoples had their own traditions. Spoons were carved from wood, shaped from horn, crafted from shells. The Inuit carved beautiful spoons from bone and ivory, sometimes decorating them with intricate designs. Each culture found its own way to shape this simple tool. The spoon, in its quiet way, is universal. Every culture that cooked liquid food, that made soups or stews or broths, needed something to lift that food to the mouth. The form varied, the materials changed, but the basic idea remained constant. A small vessel on a handle. A bridge between pot and person. In Asia, spoons took different shapes. Chinese ceramic spoons, with their wide, flat bowls, were perfect for soup dumplings and broth. Japanese spoons, often made of wood or lacquer, had deeper bowls, better for miso soup and noodle dishes. The spoon adapted to the cuisine, to the eating customs, to the shape of the bowl. In India, many people ate with their hands, as they still do. Food was mixed and shaped with the fingers, brought to the mouth with grace and skill. But spoons existed too, especially for serving, for stirring, for cooking. Large ladles of brass or copper hung in kitchens, ready to scoop dal or curry from the pot. The spoon has always been patient. It waits in drawers. It rests in jars on countertops. It asks nothing. When called upon, it performs its duty without complaint. Stir the tea, measure the sugar, taste the sauce, serve the stew, then back to rest until needed again. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the spoon had settled into a more familiar form. The bowl became more rounded. The handle lengthened and straightened. In Europe, the fashion was for decorative handles engraved with family crests or floral patterns. The spoon was becoming standardized, but still carried individual character. Gently moving on, we come to the age of industry. The 19th century brought factories, machines, mass production. For the first time, spoons could be made quickly and cheaply. Thousands of identical spoons could roll off a production line in a single day. The spoon, once a personal craft object, became a commodity. This was democracy in a way. Now nearly everyone could afford a spoon, a set of spoons, a drawer full of spoons. They were no longer precious heirlooms to be guarded and passed down. They were everyday objects, replaceable, unremarkable, and yet no less essential. Stainless steel arrived in the early 20th century, and the spoon found its most enduring modern form. Stainless steel did not rust. It did not tarnish. It could be washed again and again without losing its shine. It was practical, hygienic, nearly indestructible. The perfect material for a tool, meant to be used every single day. But even as spoons became ordinary, they retained their small magics. A baby's first spoon, tiny and soft-edged. A grandmother's wooden spoon, stained and worn from decades of stirring. A silver teaspoon kept in a special drawer, used only for guests. Each spoon still carried meaning, memory, connection. The teaspoon became a unit of measurement. Recipes called for a teaspoon of vanilla, a teaspoon of salt. The spoon itself became a standard, 5 milliliters, or roughly 1/6 of an ounce. A small amount, but precise. The spoon moved from the table into the language of cooking itself. There are soup spoons and dessert spoons, serving spoons and slotted spoons. There are demi-tasse spoons for espresso, grapefruit spoons with serrated edges, iced teaspoons with long handles. Each variation serves a purpose, solves a problem, makes some small task easier. The spoon appears in our idioms and metaphors. To be spoon-fed is to have information given too easily, without effort. To spoon with someone once meant to court them, to cuddle close. The spoon has nested itself into our language as thoroughly as it has into our kitchens. Children learn to use a spoon before they learn to use a fork or knife. It is the first tool of independence at the table. A toddler gripping a spoon, determined to feed herself, is taking a step toward autonomy. The spoon teaches. It grants small freedoms. It says, "You can do this yourself." In hospitals and care facilities, spoons remain essential. When someone is too weak to feed themselves, another person holds the spoon. This act of feeding another human being is intimate, vulnerable, kind. The spoon becomes an instrument of care, of love, of tending to those who cannot tend to themselves. As another quiet part of the story unfolds, we might consider the spoon's place in celebration. Birthday cake is served with a spoon, ice cream, pudding, custard. The spoon delivers sweetness, marks occasions, carries treats. It is there at parties and holidays, unremarked but necessary. The story of the spoon is not dramatic. There are no great battles fought over spoons, no empires built on their manufacture. And yet, the spoon has witnessed everything. It has been there at breakfast tables through centuries. It has stirred tea during wars and peace. It has fed emperors and peasants, astronauts and explorers. When humans first ventured into space, they took spoons with them. Eating in zero gravity is complicated. Food floats, liquids form spheres, but astronauts still needed something spoon-like to eat their meals. Special utensils were designed, but the basic principle remained. A bowl, a handle, a way to bring food to the mouth. On Earth, in laboratories, scientists use spoons of a sort. Spatulas and scoops and measuring spoons transfer chemicals, weigh powders, mix compounds. The spoon shape is so useful, so versatile, that it appears in contexts far from the dining table. The principle endures. In pharmacies, medicines are measured in spoonfuls. A spoonful of cough syrup, a dose measured carefully. The spoon becomes a tool of healing, of care. It delivers relief, one measured portion at a time. Even medicine, bitter as it might be, arrives on a spoon. There are collectors who seek out antique spoons. They hunt through estate sales and antique shops, searching for rare patterns, unusual materials, spoons with stories. A spoon from a famous hotel, a souvenir spoon from a long-ago vacation. Each one a small artifact of a life lived, a place visited, a moment remembered. Souvenir spoons became popular in the late 19th century. Travelers would purchase silver spoons engraved with local landmarks. A spoon from Niagara Falls, a spoon from the Grand Canyon. These spoons were not used for eating. They were memories made tangible, small sculptures of places and experiences. The spoon has been made from nearly every material imaginable. Gold spoons for royalty, plastic spoons for picnics, wooden spoons for cooking, titanium spoons for backpackers who count every ounce, bamboo spoons for those who prefer sustainable materials. The spoon adapts, always, to the needs and values of its time. In recent years, some have worried about disposable plastic spoons, about waste and pollution. The throwaway spoon, used once and discarded, has come to symbolize a larger problem. We are reconsidering, can the spoon be sustainable? Can it return to wood, to metal, to materials that endure or decompose gracefully? The spoon asks so little of us. It does not need electricity. It requires no complex instructions. A child can understand a spoon. A spoon does not break easily, and when it does, it can often be replaced for pennies. It is humble technology, ancient and modern at once. As the story unfolds further, we might pause to think about all the hands that have held spoons, mothers feeding children, chefs tasting sauces, elders stirring sugar into afternoon tea, workers eating lunch from a thermos. Each spoonful a small act, repeated billions of times across human history. In another quiet part of this story, let us consider the spoon in art. Artists have painted still lifes featuring spoons resting beside bread and fruit. Photographers have captured the gleam of light on a silver spoon. The spoon appears in paintings by Vermeer and Chardin, a quiet presence in scenes of domestic life. Sculptors have bent and twisted spoons into new shapes, exploring the tension between function and form. A spoon recognizable yet transformed. These artworks ask, when does a spoon stop being a spoon? When it cannot hold liquid? when it cannot reach the mouth? Or is the idea of spoon enough? There is poetry in the spoon too. Poets have written about spoons as symbols of domesticity, of comfort, of the ordinary miracle of having enough to eat. The spoon in a poem might represent home, safety, the simple pleasures that sustain us. A spoon full of honey. A silver spoon. The spoon that stirred morning coffee in a house now gone. Children's books often feature spoons. The dish ran away with the spoon, goes the nursery rhyme. Good night, spoon, a child might say, bidding farewell to the kitchen before bed. The spoon enters childhood imagination as a friendly presence, a familiar object in a world still new and strange. Magicians once claimed to bend spoons with their minds. Uri Geller became famous for this trick, this illusion. Whether real or sleight of hand, the bent spoon became iconic. It represented the possibility of the impossible, the ordinary object transformed by mysterious force. The spoon as wonder. In folklore and superstition, spoons sometimes carry meaning. To drop a spoon might predict a visitor. To give a knife is bad luck, but a spoon is safe. Some believed that stirring counterclockwise would bring misfortune. These small superstitions gave the spoon power beyond its physical function. The spoon has witnessed meals both grand and humble. It has been present at state banquets where dozens of courses were served on porcelain and gold. It has stirred thin soup in times of famine. It has scooped rice from a simple bowl. It has delivered caviar to wealthy lips. The spoon judges none of this. It serves. In monasteries and convents, meals were often taken in silence. Monks and nuns sat at long tables, eating simple food with simple spoons. The only sound was the gentle clink of spoon against bowl. In that silence, the spoon became a meditation. Each bite a prayer. Each meal a ritual of gratitude. The Japanese tea ceremony sometimes involves a small bamboo spoon called a chashaku. It is used to measure matcha powder. The movements are precise, deliberate. The spoon becomes part of a choreography of mindfulness. Every gesture has meaning. The spoon is not rushed. It participates in slowness, in attention, in respect. As we continue, let us think about the sound of spoons. The gentle tap of a spoon stirring tea. The scrape of a spoon against the bottom of a jar trying to get the last bit of jam. The clink of spoons in a drawer. These are sounds of home, of kitchen, of care. Quiet sounds, but full of meaning. The spoon has traveled far from its origins, from shell and leaf to stainless steel and plastic, from personal treasure to mass-produced commodity. And yet, something essential remains unchanged. The spoon still does what it has always done. It carries food, it measures, it stirs, it serves. There are communities where communal eating is still practiced. A large bowl of food is placed in the center, and everyone eats from it together, using spoons or bread or hands. In this context, the spoon is not just personal. It is shared. It connects people. It creates intimacy, trust, family. In times of hardship, the spoon remains. During the Great Depression, families made do with whatever they had. Spoons were kept, repaired, cherished. A spoon might be the only utensil a household owned. It stirred watery soup. It rationed sugar. It survived. Soldiers carried spoons in their field kits. A canteen, a knife, a spoon. These were essentials. In trenches and camps, in the brief moments between fear and duty, soldiers ate with their spoons. The spoon offered normalcy in abnormal times. A reminder that basic needs remained, even in war. Explorers took spoons to the ends of the earth, to the Arctic and Antarctic, into jungles and deserts, up mountains. The spoon was there when Edmund Hillary had tea on Everest, when Shackleton's crew ate seal meat on the ice. The spoon goes wherever humans go. It is part of our survival kit, our humanity kit. In refugee camps, spoons are distributed along with food. A simple plastic spoon can mean dignity. The ability to eat without hands alone. A small tool that says, "You are human, you deserve this basic comfort." Aid organizations know this. The spoon is aid. The spoon is respect. Chefs develop relationships with their spoons. A chef might have a favorite wooden spoon, worn smooth from years of stirring. The balance feels right. The length is perfect. That spoon has tasted 1,000 sauces, adjusted 1,000 seasonings. It is a partner in creation. In ice cream parlors, the scooping spoon is specialized. Curved and strong, designed to dig through frozen sweetness. The server drags the spoon through tubs of chocolate and vanilla, building perfect spheres. The spoon shapes pleasure, one scoop at a time. Summer memories are built on these spoons. At coffee shops, small spoons rest on saucers beside espresso cups. They are decorative almost, too small to be very useful, but they stir sugar into bitter coffee. They balance the tiny cup. They are part of the ritual of pause, of taking a moment in a busy day. As the story unfolds, we see the spoon in retirement homes, in school cafeterias, in hospital wards, in food trucks and fine restaurants. Everywhere humans eat, the spoon is there. It is one of our most constant companions, silent, patient, ready. Gently moving on through our quiet journey, we come to the matter of design. Over centuries, designers have refined the spoon, the curve of the bowl, the width of the handle, the weight distribution. Every element has been considered. A good spoon feels right in the hand. It balances. It works. Some designers have created spoons for people with limited mobility, weighted spoons for tremors, angled spoons for arthritis, spoons with large grips for weak hands. These adaptive spoons restore independence. They say you can still feed yourself. You still have this dignity, this freedom. The shape of a spoon affects how food tastes. A deeper bowl concentrates flavor. A wider bowl spreads it. The metal touches the tongue differently than wood. These subtle differences matter. The spoon is not just a delivery device, it is part of the eating experience itself. In fine dining, the placement of spoons is prescribed. The soup spoon goes here, the dessert spoon there. These rules come from centuries of etiquette, of attempting to bring order and grace to the dining table. The spoon participates in these codes. It has a proper place, a proper use. But in everyday life, we are less formal. Spoons live in the drawer, jumbled with forks and knives. They are grabbed quickly on the way out the door with a yogurt cup. They are left in coffee mugs and rinsed at the end of the day. The spoon tolerates this casualness. It does not insist on ceremony. There was a time when people carried their own spoons. Before restaurants provided utensils, you might bring your own. A personal spoon, kept in a pocket or bag. It went with you from meal to meal, from inn to inn. Your spoon was yours, known and trusted. Now we leave our spoons behind. At restaurants, disposable spoons are provided and thrown away. We no longer form relationships with individual spoons. They are interchangeable, anonymous. Something has been lost in this convenience, but perhaps something has been gained too. Ease, simplicity, hygiene. Some craftspeople still make spoons by hand. Woodcarvers select branches, shape them with knives, sand them smooth. Each spoon is unique. The grain of the wood shows through. These spoons are sold at craft fairs and artisan markets. They resist mass production. They insist on individuality. There is satisfaction in using a well-made spoon. The weight of it, the smooth finish, the way it sits in the palm. These small pleasures matter. They remind us that even everyday objects can be beautiful, can be made with care, can bring tiny moments of joy. As another quiet part of the story unfolds, we might consider what the spoon teaches us. That simple tools endure, that function can be elegant, that what we need, most deeply, has not changed much over thousands of years. We still need to eat. We still need something to help us do it. The spoon answers that need. The spoon appears in our earliest memories, being fed as an infant, learning to hold the spoon ourselves. The first clumsy attempts, food everywhere except the mouth. The triumph of success. Look, I did it. I fed myself. The spoon marks developmental milestones, witnesses growth. In old photographs, we see spoons. A birthday party, children with cake and spoons. A holiday dinner, the table set with careful precision. A camping trip, someone stirring something over a fire. The spoon is in the background of our lives, unremarkable but always present. Some families have traditions around spoons. The christening spoon, passed down through generations. The cooking spoon that came from the old country that stirred the recipes of ancestors. These spoons are not just metal or wood. They are connections to the past, to people long gone but still remembered. When someone moves out on their own for the first time, they need spoons. It is one of the first things on the list. Plates, cups, spoons, the basics of making a home. A young person standing in a store, choosing their first set of spoons, is beginning something. An independent life. A kitchen of their own. In wedding registries, couples list spoons. Matching sets, carefully chosen patterns. These spoons will stir coffee during early morning conversations. They will serve dessert after dinner parties. They will be there through years of shared meals, shared life. The spoons bear witness to marriage. When households dissolve, When people part ways, the spoons are divided. This set of spoons goes with you. That one stays with me. It seems trivial, and yet it is not. Each object holds memory, even spoons, especially spoons which have been there for every meal, every ordinary day. In estate sales, spoons are sold in lots. Miscellaneous kitchen items, the listing says. Someone's spoons, once used every day, now priced by weight. A life reduced to objects. And yet, someone will buy those spoons, use them, give them new purpose. New memories. The spoon continues. There are people who collect spoons not for their value, but for their history. Each spoon tells a story. This one was used in a farmhouse kitchen. That one came from a ship. This tiny one was a child's. Collecting these stories, these objects, is a way of honoring the ordinary, of saying, these lives mattered, these meals mattered. The spoon does not care about its story. It has no memory, no sentiment. It is simply a spoon. But we care. We assign meaning. We remember the spoon grandmother used, the spoon from the first apartment, the spoon that was always in the picnic basket. Memory clings to objects, and the spoon receives our memories. As we continue, let us acknowledge that the spoon is both deeply personal and utterly universal. Your spoon is not my spoon, and yet, all spoons are fundamentally the same. This paradox defines many human objects, individual and collective. Unique and common. The spoon holds both truths. In another quiet part of this story, we turn to the matter of materials. Wood spoons are warm to the touch. They do not conduct heat. They are gentle on cookware, will not scratch surfaces, but they absorb flavors over time. A wooden spoon that has stirred years of tomato sauce remembers in its way. Metal spoons are cool and smooth. They can be polished to shine. They last for decades, nearly indestructible, but they conduct heat, become too hot to hold when stirring something on the stove. They clang when dropped. They are honest materials, hiding nothing. Plastic spoons are light and cheap. They come in every color. They are convenient, dispensable, but they melt near heat. They break easily. They will not biodegrade for hundreds of years. The plastic spoon is convenient now, problematic later. It represents a bargain with the future. Ceramic spoons exist too, delicate and smooth. They are used for tea ceremonies, for serving caviar, for rituals where metal would be wrong. Ceramic does not react with food. It is neutral, pure, but it is fragile. A ceramic spoon requires gentleness, care. Horn spoons were once common, made from cow or buffalo horn, shaped and polished. They are smooth, durable, beautiful in their natural variation, each one different, each one carrying the pattern of the animal it came from. These spoons connect us to older ways of using what was available. Glass spoons are rare but exist. Transparent, fragile, decorative, more than functional. They might be used for serving honey or jam, where the transparency is part of the presentation. Glass spoons are impractical but beautiful. They prioritize aesthetics over utility, and sometimes that is enough. Silicone spoons have become popular for cooking. They are heat-resistant, flexible, non-stick. They scrape bowls clean, bend into corners. They are practical, modern solutions, but they lack the romance of older materials. They are purely functional, admitting no poetry. Bamboo spoons are sustainable, renewable, naturally antimicrobial. They are light and strong. They represent a middle path between traditional and modern. Bamboo grows quickly, can be harvested without destroying the plant. The bamboo spoon is an answer to environmental concerns, a compromise between need and care. Some spoons are made from unexpected materials. Coconut shell spoons. Spoons carved from stone. Spoons made from recycled materials. These experimental spoons push boundaries, ask questions. What can a spoon be? What should it be? How can we rethink this ancient tool? As the story unfolds, we see that the material matters, but perhaps not as much as we think. A spoon is a spoon, whether gold or plastic. It serves the same fundamental purpose. The material adds character, affects experience, but does not change the essential nature of the thing. A spoon remains a spoon. Gently moving on, we come to the spoon in medicine. Spoons have measured doses for centuries. A spoonful of tonic, a spoonful of oil. Before precise measurement tools, the spoon was the standard. Doctors would prescribe, take 1 tablespoon twice daily. The spoon became medical instrument. Mary Poppins sang that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. This was not just whimsy, it was practical advice. Bitter medicine could be mixed with something sweet, delivered on a spoon. The spoon made unpleasant necessities bearable. It was the vehicle of both cure and comfort. In laboratories, chemists use small metal spoons called spatulas to transfer powders and compounds. These are precision tools. Too much or too little could ruin an experiment. The spoon shape is ideal for scooping, for measuring, for moving substances from one container to another without loss. Dental tools include small spoon-shaped excavators. Dentists use these to remove decay, to clean cavities. The spoon shape is gentle, controllable, effective. Even in the mouth, in that small sensitive space, the spoon shape proves useful. It adapts to need, to context. For those with swallowing difficulties, special spoons have been designed. They hold less food, are easier to control. They might have a built-in valve that only releases a small amount at a time. These adaptive spoons help people continue to eat safely, to maintain independence even as abilities change. In surgical contexts, spoon-shaped instruments appear, curettes which scrape and clean, retractors that hold tissue. The spoon shape, that simple curve, is endlessly applicable. It appears wherever there is need to hold, to move, to transfer, to scoop. Even inside the human body. Archaeologists use small spoons and scoops to carefully excavate sites. Dirt is removed spoonful by spoonful, revealing what lies beneath. The spoon is patient enough for this work. It disturbs nothing unnecessarily. It reveals slowly, carefully, with respect for what might be found. Geologists carry small spoons to collect samples. a spoonful of soil from this location, a scoop of sand from that one, each sample labeled and stored. The spoon helps us understand the earth itself, what it is made of, where things come from, how layers formed over millions of years. Artists use spoons to mix paint, to add small amounts of pigment. Sculptors use spoon-shaped tools to hollow clay. The spoon appears in studios, in workshops, wherever materials need to be moved, measured, shaped. It is a universal tool, transcending any single purpose. As another quiet part of this story unfolds, we see the spoon in contexts we might never have expected. Medical, scientific, artistic, practical. The spoon adapts. The spoon serves. The spoon proves, again and again, that simple solutions are often the best solutions. That what works, works. The spoon in music is an unexpected presence. Spoons have been used as percussion instruments. Two metal spoons, held in one hand, clicked together in rhythm. This creates a bright, rattling sound. Street musicians played spoons. Folk musicians. Anyone who wanted to make music but had no formal instruments. The sound of spoons can be surprisingly complex. In skilled hands, spoons can keep intricate rhythms. They can add texture to a song. They are the instruments of people who make do, who find music in what they have. The spoon becomes song. The everyday becomes art. In some cultures, large decorative spoons are hung on walls. They are painted, carved, adorned. These spoons are not for use. They are for display. They represent abundance, hospitality, the welcoming of guests. A decorative spoon says, "There is food here. You are welcome to share it." The Welsh tradition of love spoons is particularly beautiful. A young man would carve an elaborate wooden spoon decorated with symbols, hearts for love, wheels for hard work, keys for security. He would give this spoon to the woman he hoped to marry. The spoon was both gift and promise. Both art and proposal. These love spoons were never used for eating. They were too precious, too meaningful. They were kept, displayed, treasured. The spoon became token, proof of affection, evidence that someone had spent hours carving, thinking, hoping. The spoon carried love in its grain. In some Asian cultures, it is considered respectful to use both hands when presenting a spoon or bowl to an elder. The gesture matters. The object is not just handed over casually. It is offered with intention, with respect. The spoon participates in these rituals of courtesy and hierarchy. There are superstitions about spoons. Stir with a knife, stir up strife, the saying goes. Always stir with a spoon. Some believe that a dropped spoon means a female visitor is coming. These folk beliefs give the spoon a kind of agency, as if it knows things, predicts things, influences things. In literature, the spoon appears as symbol and metaphor. Spoon imagery might represent domesticity, care, nourishment. To spoon-feed someone information is to make it too easy. To be spooning is to lie close. The spoon has entered our language as something more than object. Children's games sometimes involve spoons. Spoon races, where an egg is balanced on a spoon and contestants race without dropping it. This teaches balance, patience, care. The spoon becomes toy, becomes teacher. It makes learning fun, turns concentration into game. As we continue, we see that the spoon exists in many dimensions: physical tool, cultural symbol, musical instrument, love token, game piece. The spoon is whatever we need it to be. It adapts, it serves, it participates in human life at every level, from the mundane to the sacred. In another quiet part of this story, let us consider the future of the spoon. Will it change? Will new materials replace metal and wood? Will the shape evolve, or will the spoon remain essentially what it has always been? A curve, a handle, a way to bring food to mouth. Some futurists imagine that we will one day eat only pills or liquids, that solid food will be obsolete. In that world, would we still need spoons? Perhaps we would measure those liquids, stir those solutions with something spoon-shaped. The need might remain even if the food changes. Others predict a return to traditional ways: handmade objects, local materials, slow food. In that future, the wooden spoon might be prized again, the silver spoon cherished, the spoon as craft object, not disposable commodity, a rejection of mass production in favor of meaning. Environmental concerns will likely shape the spoon's future. Biodegradable materials, reusable designs, spoons that do not burden the earth. The spoon might become a site of ethical choice. What we eat with says something about what we value, about how we want to live. Smart spoons have been invented, spoons that vibrate to counteract tremors, spoons with sensors that measure how much you are eating, spoons that sync with apps, track nutrition. Technology finds its way into everything, even spoons, even this most basic tool. But perhaps the spoon will resist complete transformation. Perhaps there is wisdom in its simplicity. A spoon needs no battery, no software updates. It works the same in a palace or a tent, in any century, on any continent. This reliability is valuable. This simplicity is strength. Children born today will learn to use spoons just as children always have. The motor skills are the same, the challenge identical. Grip the handle, guide the bowl, don't spill. This continuity across generations is remarkable. The spoon connects us to our ancestors and to descendants not yet born. In space stations and Mars colonies, should they come, there will be spoons. Astronauts will need to eat. Food will need to be transferred from package to mouth. The spoon will adapt to zero gravity, to new conditions, but it will be there. Humans go nowhere without their tools. The spoon is one of them. The spoon will be there at the first meal on another planet. Imagine that moment. Tired colonists, having traveled millions of miles, sitting down to eat. The food might be algae paste, might be hydroponically grown vegetables, but it will be eaten with spoons. Earth's tools on alien soil. As the story unfolds toward its gentle conclusion, we see that the spoon's future is probably secure. Not because it is high-tech or innovative, but because it is fundamentally right for its purpose. The form follows function so perfectly that there is little room for improvement. The spoon is complete. In the last part of our journey, let us reflect quietly on what we have learned. The spoon is old, older than nations, older than written language. It has been with us since we learned to heat water, to make soup, to cook grain into porridge. It is among our oldest friends. The spoon is modest. It does not demand attention. It works quietly. But in its quiet way, it has been essential. It has prevented burns. It has made eating easier. It has allowed us to enjoy soup and stew, cereal and ice cream. It has measured medicine. It has stirred comfort into cups of tea. The spoon connects us to each other. When we feed a child, we use a spoon. When we share a meal, spoons pass around the table. When we care for the sick or elderly, we hold the spoon for them. The spoon is an instrument of human connection, of care, of love expressed through feeding. The spoon is democratic. Rich and poor, everyone has used spoons. A king's spoon might be gold, a beggar's spoon would, but both serve the same purpose. The spoon does not discriminate. It offers its service to all. In this way, it is more fair than many human institutions. The spoon teaches patience. You cannot rush a spoonful of hot soup. You must wait. Blow gently. Take your time. The spoon insists on slowness, on care. In our hurried world, the spoon is a small reminder that some things cannot be rushed, that there is value in moving slowly. The spoon is sustainable in a way many modern objects are not. A good spoon can last a lifetime, longer. It can be passed down. It requires no energy to operate. It breaks rarely. When it does, it can often be repaired or recycled. The spoon embodies principles we are only now remembering we need. The spoon is honest. It does not pretend to be more than it is. It makes no false promises. It will hold liquid. It will transfer food. That is all. But that is enough. In an age of overcomplicated gadgets, the spoon's honesty is refreshing. What you see is what you get. As we near the end, let us remember all the spoons we have known. The spoons of childhood. The spoons in our kitchens now. The spoons we have lost and replaced. The spoons we will use tomorrow morning, stirring coffee half awake. These small companions of everyday life. The spoon will be here after we are gone. It will serve new hands, new mouths. It will continue its patient work. This is both humbling and comforting. We are temporary. The spoon, the idea of the spoon, endures. It will be here for our children's children's children. And so we come to the close of this gentle journey through the history of the spoon. We have traveled from ancient shells to modern steel, from royal treasures to everyday plastic, from tools of survival to instruments of care. The spoon has been there for all of it. Patient, useful, quiet. If you are still awake, still listening, thank you for taking this slow walk through such a humble subject. If you have drifted away, well, that is fine too. That was part of the purpose. Either way, the spoon will be there in the morning, in your drawer, waiting to stir your coffee, ready to serve. You may return to this story anytime you wish. The spoon's tale is always here, calm, boring in the best way. soothing in its ordinariness. May you sleep well, may your dreams be gentle, and may you never take for granted the small tools that make life easier. Good night.